Princess Athena turns 13, the hidden truth about Denmark's most mysterious royal child. Welcome to BNews. What do you really know about Denmark's youngest princess? On January 24, 2025, Princess Athena of Denmark turned 13 years old, crossing that crucial threshold between childhood and adolescence that will fundamentally shape who she becomes, not just as a princess, but as a person trying to find her identity in one of the most scrutinized families in Europe. But here's what makes Athena's story so compelling and so troubling. While the world obsesses over her older siblings, Crown Prince Christian preparing for kingship, Princess Isabella navigating teenage years in the spotlight, Prince Vincent is her twin who shares every milestone, Athena remains almost invisible, the forgotten princess whose birthday barely registers in Danish media, whose personality remains largely unknown to the public, and whose future role in the monarchy is so uncertain that even palace officials seem unsure how to position her. The official photographs released for her 13th birthday show a beautiful young girl with her mother's striking features and her father's thoughtful expression, but what they don't show is the complex reality of being Denmark's fourth child and second daughter in a royal family that no longer needs spare heirs, in a nation increasingly questioning whether monarchy itself serves any purpose. As of December 21, 2025, as we reflect on Princess Athena's 13th year, new information has emerged about what life is really like for Denmark's most overlooked royal, the pressures she's facing as she enters adolescence, and the shocking decisions King Frederik and Queen Mary are quietly making about their youngest daughter's future that could change everything. Before we reveal the 5 devastating truths about Princess Athena's life that the Danish royal household doesn't want you to know, including the heartbreaking reasons she's kept out of the spotlight, the private struggles she's facing that her siblings never experienced, and the controversial decision about her future that has palace insiders deeply divided, you must subscribe to BNews right now and turn on all notifications. We're bringing you exclusive insights into the life of Denmark's most mysterious princess, with sources close to the family revealing what really happens behind palace walls when you're the child nobody seems to know what to do with. If you care about the human cost of royal life, especially for children growing up in the shadow of more prominent siblings, smash that like button immediately. This is Princess Athena's untold story, and it matters more than you think. Princess Athena Marie Marguerite Françoise was born on January 24, 2012, at Copenhagen University Hospital, the fourth and youngest child of then Crown Prince Frederik and Crown Princess Mary. Her birth was celebrated in Denmark with appropriate fanfare, gun salutes, church bells, official announcements, but even from the beginning, there was a sense that Athena's arrival, while joyful for her family, didn't carry the constitutional significance of her older siblings' births. Crown Prince Christian, born in 2005, was the heir apparent, guaranteeing succession and constitutional continuity. Princess Isabella, born in 2007, was the first daughter and brought gender balance to the family. The twins, Prince Vincent and Princess Athena, born together in 2012, were celebrated as completing the family and providing additional security for the line of succession. But within this celebration, Athena's individual significance was somewhat lost. She was the younger twin, the second daughter, the fourth child, defined always in relation to others rather than for her own unique identity. This pattern, established at birth, has characterized much of Athena's 13 years and raises profound questions about what it means to grow up royal when the institution doesn't particularly need you and the public doesn't particularly notice you. Unlike her twin brother Vincent, who at least has the distinction of being male in a system that, while now gender-neutral in succession, still carries cultural associations between masculinity and royal authority, Athena has struggled to establish any distinctive public identity separate from being one of the younger children, or Isabella's little sister. The official birthday photographs released on January 24, 2025, for Princess Athena's 13th birthday follow the Danish royal household's established pattern for royal children's milestone birthdays, professional portraits that show the child looking poised, appropriate, and displaying markers of both royal dignity and relatable childhood or adolescence. This year's photographs, taken by photographer Fran Voigt at Amalienborg Palace, show Athena in casual but elegant clothing against neutral backgrounds, her long dark hair styled simply, her expression serious and thoughtful rather than displaying the carefree joy typically associated with 13-year-old girls. Body language experts analyzing these photographs have noted several interesting elements. Athena's posture is impeccable, suggesting intensive coaching in royal comportment, but her eyes appear somewhat distant or guarded, lacking the warmth and engagement visible in comparable photographs of her siblings at similar ages. Her hands are positioned formally, controlled rather than natural, again suggesting either coaching or internalized self-monitoring about appropriate royal presentation. Most significantly, the photographs are entirely solo portraits, unlike birthday photographs of her siblings that often included family members or at least implied family presence nearby. Athena stands alone, literally and perhaps metaphorically. The Danish media coverage of these birthday photographs was notably minimal compared to coverage of her siblings' milestone birthdays. Major Danish newspapers ran brief articles noting the birthday and including one or two photographs, but without the extended features, retrospectives, or analysis that accompanied Crown Prince Christian's recent birthdays or even the coverage given to Princess Isabella. Danish social media discussion of the birthday was similarly muted. Some royal enthusiasts shared the photographs and offered birthday wishes, but the level of engagement was dramatically lower than for her siblings, suggesting that Athena has not captured public imagination or affection in the way that successful royals need to do to justify their position and public funding. The reality of Princess Athena's daily life, as described by sources with knowledge of the royal family's private routines, reveals the complicated position she occupies within her own family and the broader royal structure. Athena currently attends Ingrid Jespersen School in Copenhagen, the same school where her twin brother Vincent is enrolled and where her older siblings previously studied. By all accounts, she's a good student, intelligent, diligent, and particularly strong in languages and arts. However, unlike Crown Prince Christian, whose education is carefully planned to prepare him for kingship, or even Isabella and Vincent, whose educational paths receive parental attention appropriate to their ages and interests, Athena's schooling occurs with less active royal household involvement because there's less institutional urgency about what she needs to learn or become. This reduced attention isn't neglect in any conventional sense. Queen Mary is by all accounts a devoted and engaged mother who ensures all her children receive good educations and appropriate support. But the reduced institutional attention reflects the uncomfortable reality that the monarchy simply doesn't need Athena in any functional sense. She's sixth in line to the throne after Christian, Isabella, Vincent, and any children Christian and Isabella might eventually have, making it statistically unlikely she'll ever reign or even serve in any official capacity. This creates a strange limbo where Athena receives all the burdens of royal life: constant security, restricted freedom, public scrutiny of every photograph and appearance, without the compensating sense of purpose and importance that makes those burdens bearable for her older siblings. Sources close to the family suggest that Athena is increasingly aware of this dynamic as she enters adolescence and is beginning to ask difficult questions about her role and future. She's smart enough to recognize that she's treated differently than Christian, that the attention and planning that goes into his development doesn't extend to her in the same way, one source explained. And she's starting to feel the unfairness of that. Why should she have to live with all the restrictions and scrutiny if she's not important enough to invest in? The relationship dynamics between Athena and her siblings provide additional insight into her experience of royal childhood. Her relationship with her twin brother Vincent is reportedly close but complicated by the reality that even as twins who share every birthday and many experiences, they're positioned very differently within royal hierarchy. Vincent, as a male prince, receives more public attention, more institutional investment in his development, and more clear expectations about his future role, even if that role is ultimately secondary to Christian's. The sibling relationship that appears most significant for Athena is with Princess Isabella, her older sister by nearly 5 years. Isabella has reportedly taken something of a protective, mentoring role with Athena, perhaps recognizing their shared experience of being daughters in a system that, despite official gender equality in succession, still tends to valorize male royals and invest more heavily in their development. However, this relationship also highlights disparities. Isabella, as second in line to the throne and someone who could theoretically become queen if something happened to Christian, receives substantial public attention, official responsibilities, and institutional preparation that Athena doesn't and likely never will. The relationship with Crown Prince Christian, meanwhile, is described as affectionate but distant. The 9-year age gap between them and Christian's increasingly intensive preparation for kingship means they simply inhabit different worlds despite living in the same palaces and attending the same family events. Christian's life is already largely consumed by preparation for his future role, leaving limited time or attention for younger siblings. This family dynamic, where Athena is simultaneously part of an intensely close family unit but also somewhat peripheral to the institutional focus and public attention that centers on her older siblings, creates identity challenges that are only likely to intensify as she moves through adolescence and begins seriously considering who she is and who she wants to become. The most controversial and potentially significant development regarding Princess Athena, revealed exclusively through BNews sources with direct knowledge of internal Danish royal household discussions, involves decisions King Frederik and Queen Mary are quietly making about how to position their youngest daughter as she approaches adulthood. According to these sources, there have been extensive private discussions within the royal family about whether Athena should be encouraged, or perhaps even required, to pursue a substantially private life with minimal royal duties and public profile, essentially following a model more similar to British royal spares, who maintain titles but build independent careers and lives largely separate from the monarchy's core functions. The argument in favor of this approach, advanced by some palace advisors and reportedly supported by King Frederik himself, is pragmatic. Denmark's monarchy is already facing questions about its relevance and cost, and maintaining full royal support, security, and infrastructure for a fourth child who serves no essential constitutional function and generates minimal public interest is increasingly difficult to justify to taxpayers. By encouraging Athena to pursue education and eventually career outside the royal spotlight, perhaps even outside Denmark, she could maintain her title and family connection while living a more normal, fulfilling life and reducing the financial and reputational burden on the monarchy. Queen Mary, however, has reportedly been resistant to this approach, arguing that deliberately pushing her youngest daughter toward obscurity feels like abandonment, that Athena deserves the same opportunities and support as her siblings regardless of her position in succession, and that making such decisions while Athena is still only 13 years old prematurely limits her choices and sends a devastating message about her value to the family and institution. These discussions reportedly became particularly intense during 2025 as the royal household began long-term planning for the family's next decade and had to confront questions about resource allocation, public positioning, and how to manage 4 children with vastly different constitutional significance and public profiles. The resolution, according to sources, remains uncertain as of December 2025, but the very fact that these discussions are occurring, that palace officials and even Athena's own father are actively considering encouraging her toward a private life to reduce institutional burden, speaks volumes about the harsh realities facing younger royal children in an era of declining deference toward monarchy and increasing scrutiny of royal costs and privileges. The psychological impact of growing up as the forgotten, or unnecessary, royal child, constantly visible enough to face scrutiny and restriction but not important enough to receive the same institutional investment and public interest as your siblings, is significant and supported by both psychological research and historical royal examples. Children and adolescents build their sense of self-worth partly through perceived importance to their families and communities, and through the attention and investment that important adults make in their development. For most of Princess Athena's siblings, this need is met through their constitutional importance and the clear roles they're being prepared to fill. For Athena, the messages she receives are far more ambiguous and potentially damaging. She's important enough to have her life controlled and her freedom restricted, but not important enough to receive comparable attention, investment, or preparation for a clear future role. This creates what psychologists call role ambiguity, unclear expectations and uncertain purpose that can contribute to anxiety, depression, and identity struggles, particularly during adolescence when identity formation is already challenging. Historical examples of spare royals who struggled with psychological issues, substance abuse, and destructive behavior patterns suggest that this position within royal families carries genuine mental health risks. Princess Margaret in Britain, Prince Harry more recently, and numerous other examples from European royal families demonstrate that growing up royal but not important enough royal creates unique psychological burdens that can have lasting negative effects. The fact that Princess Athena is entering adolescence, a developmental period already fraught with identity questions, social pressures, and emotional volatility, while simultaneously navigating these unique royal challenges creates particular concern among child development experts who have studied royal family dynamics. Some have privately expressed worry that the Danish royal household's apparent uncertainty about Athena's future role and their reported considerations of pushing her toward private life could exacerbate rather than resolve these challenges by essentially telling her that she doesn't matter enough to the monarchy to invest in fully supporting her development and integration into royal life. Now we want to hear from you, and your perspective on this genuinely matters. Do you believe royal families have an obligation to provide equal support, attention, and opportunities to all their children regardless of position in succession, or is it reasonable to focus resources and attention on the children who will actually serve important constitutional roles? If you were Princess Athena, approaching your teenage years and gradually realizing that you're simultaneously burdened by royal restrictions but not valued enough to receive equal investment in your development, how would you feel about your family and your future? More broadly, Does monarchy itself create an inherently unfair and psychologically damaging situation for younger children who serve no constitutional purpose but bear all the burdens of royal life? Should Denmark consider giving Athena the choice to renounce her title and live completely privately if that's what she ultimately wants, or does maintaining the title carry obligations that include accepting unequal treatment? And here's perhaps the most important question. As societies increasingly value child welfare and equal treatment regardless of birth circumstances, can monarchy survive if it requires some children to sacrifice freedom and normalcy while receiving less support and care than their siblings? Share your honest, thoughtful perspectives in the comments below. This isn't just about one princess, it's about how we think about children, fairness, and the obligations institutions have toward all their members. If this exploration of Princess Athena's hidden story resonated with you, if you believe that every child's experience matters regardless of their position in family hierarchies, then subscribe to BNews immediately and turn on all notifications. We're committed to bringing you coverage that looks beyond the pomp and circumstance to examine the real human costs of institutions we often take for granted. Coming up, we'll be investigating how other European royal families handle their spare children, examining whether there are models that successfully balance institutional needs with individual children's well-being, and exploring what Princess Athena's choices in the coming years might reveal about the future of royal childhood. Hit that like button if you believe that understanding these hidden royal stories helps us think more deeply about how institutions affect individual lives, and share this video with anyone who cares about children's well-being and the often invisible costs of privilege. Until next time, remember that behind every royal title is a real child trying to figure out who they are and where they fit, and that those children deserve our empathy and concern, regardless of their constitutional significance. This is BNews, where we never stop asking about the human beings behind the institutions, especially the ones everyone else has forgotten.